On today's show, stories of conservation, from prairies to the ponds.
Homeowner says about 9 feet of this hillside has been lost from erosion. We're here to reclaim it.
We look at how people try and protect and restore native landscapes.
This is basically starting material here.
Stories of conservation made for the outdoors. People are passionate about outdoor equipment. Get this, Americans spend more than $20 billion a year on gear. But no one ever really sees how their stuff gets made.
Well, that's where we come in. Each week, we throw open the factory doors and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how your favorite gear is made.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Border View Lodge.
Welcome to the show. This is the Shirk Prairie. Our growth looks pretty good this year. But you know, we the people as a whole have really been hard on our landscape. We have farmed much of it and we have developed much of it. Wildlife populations and habitat populations continue to drop, which is why today's show is dedicated to those people who help bring all this back. I think you'll understand when you see how conservation happens for the outdoors. Nature's paintbrush long ago colored Minnesota's landscape. But somewhere, somehow, life got in the way. The Minnesota DNR estimates 99% of our native grasslands have disappeared. 90% of our wetlands are gone. Exactly why this modest West Metro greenhouse means so much.
This order is going to Bush Lake, bulrushes, arrowhead.
Jill Langer picks plants.
Everything that grows in a Minnesota lake.
Greenery native to Minnesota and hand-grown from hand-picked seed.
This is prairie onion.
Jill fills orders, daughter Ella fills pots.
And right now I'm actually doing swamp milkweed, which is kind of my favorite plant.
This is a flowering business. Excuse the pun. Brainstormed to take part of Minnesota back in time. See, all these plants will end up along Minnesota lakes, specifically the lake shores, which is where Jill's husband steps in.
We're providing, a lot of plants, a lot of food source for, bees and butterflies, a lot of habitat for nesting, and then we're also providing those plants to help stabilize the shoreline.
Rob Langer and business partner Bill Bartoje own Natural Shore Technologies.
These sedges do very well in sunnier spots, shadier spots.
A dream to rehabilitate Minnesota's well-worn lakes.
We actually just do one of these.
You can really see on the shoreline here where the plants aren't, it's starting to erode away, just little places like this. So what we're doing on this project is filling those gaps and really trying to stabilize the shoreline from the effects of the waves.
The natives grow into another role, maybe their most important.
What we're doing is we're providing a 15-20 foot buffer from yard activities and road activities. So all the things that we do, fertilize and mow our lawn and put salt on the road and all those kind of things. If we can have a buffer from that, which we're doing here, those things kind of get filtered out before they get to the lake.
During summer months, those things are primarily nitrogen and phosphorus, two nutrients found in the fertilizers we all use on our lawns and our crops. The reason habitat became a passion. Minnesota Native Landscapes reintroduces native plants to the countryside on darn near every scale, from giant field sections to tiny backyard gardens.
So there's really no project too small. Pollinator gardens are popping up in yards.
Work starts in a giant seed field alive with color. The company grows giant plots of all kinds of prairie plants native to Minnesota. Come harvest time, they focus on the tiny seeds.
We run every day, or 5 days a week anyway.
These vintage machines run a good chunk of the year.
This is basically starting material here. Pretty needle in a haystack to find the seed. That particular machine has 3 different screens. It shakes back and forth, and the good stuff comes out on this end.
That seed will go either into project fields or into Native Landscapes greenhouses.
We start seeding actually before February, so it's more of a year-round production facility than you'd think.
Workers move tiny plants to bigger containers.
So this is a larger plug. There are 36 plants in a tray. This is an order that's getting pulled for a wetland restoration.
And before you know it, the plants are ready to go out the door.
We're putting down a mix of prairie grasses and flowers. You know, once it grows up, it will be a lot of tall grasses and flowers that will really enhance the landscape. You know, it's kind of bringing back the landscape to what it was 100 years ago.
Actually, it's more than that. It's protecting pieces of our environmental legacy and certainly helping out wildlife in the process.
People are starting to hear more about using natives, and they're starting to learn a little bit more and do a lot more restoration.
Yep, given time to grow, these projects and landscapes flourish. Healthy mini ecosystems, good for water, good for people, and good for wildlife. Up next, a different take on protecting water quality. Got your socks on? Because this story might knock them off.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Borderview Lodge, Ice Castle Fish Houses, Aquarius Home Services, Car Arms, and by Keystone Light. Keystone Light, always smooth. Celebrate responsibly.
Native prairie plants like these do a really good job of protecting our environment. They suck up all the extra nitrogen and phosphorus around. But one company thinks it might be onto a new technique to help clean water. It's a story that is made for the outdoors, and their product is aimed at protecting it too. Holy neighborhood, what's going on in this suburbia? Landscaping, perhaps.
30 inches of new earth on this hillside that wasn't here. He said that he lost how much? Like 8 feet.
Let's ask the boss.
This is kind of like a Band-Aid to the earth. Where the earth has been hurt, we put the socks in to kind of help her heal.
Yep, socks. Stockings of sorts for Mother Earth.
We're here because of how much of this hillside has been lost. The homeowner says about 9 feet of this hillside has been lost from erosion. We're here to reclaim it and restore it. And we're also here to stop what you're seeing behind me. This is not what we mean when we say we want to go green. We want to stop this problem.
Homeowner John Herzog wants his backyard back.
What prompted me to do this project was we are recent homeowners here, and we noticed that there's significant erosion in our backyard. My hope is to reestablish our bank, stabilize it, help improve the water quality through the filtering and buffering of the product and the native plants that we're going to be planting in it.
Stormwater ponds all over North America sit covered in green algae and duckweed.
It is very disturbing. Part of the goal of this product is to help filter the phosphoruses and nitrates from runoff and decrease the duckweed.
We just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing environmentally. Our city is responsible for all of the water. It is a pilot project, of course, and if it looks like it proves itself out, we'll be recommending this same type of system in the future to others.
This shore sock system, the brainchild of Daniel Schaff.
I started this company 14 years ago because I was doing rock riprap to protect the shorelines, and DNR said no more rock. I asked them what that meant, and they told me to have a degradable device that has organic materials that can stabilize earth and grow the earth back to where its natural state is. The sock has a photodegradable mesh. Takes 10 years for this mesh to begin to degrade. It has to have sunlight to begin the degradation of the sock. The inside, I have the only system that has patents to use burlap. It's 100% biodegradable. And the burlap is to hold and retain nitrate phosphates. On this project, Ron, we're using wood chips for the organic material. When we got here this morning, this shoreline was about where my boot is. This is where the earth was. This is where the earth is now.
By next summer, if all goes well, the restored pond bank will have a natural look. Aquatic plants should stabilize the shore, cleaning rain runoff and adding backyard beauty.
My message is we all need to step up to the plate as humans, pass this earth on to the next generation, and be responsible and filtrate and support and stabilize our banks and our hillsides. My wife taught me one thing I know for sure. Everywhere I put these socks, everywhere this sock goes, she said, we are changing water qualities in our ocean, lakes, and rivers 1 foot at a time. That's how we are. That's how we do it.
1 foot at a time, using socks. Up next,
We can stay back and do nothing, or we can take degraded shallow lake and we can rejuvenate it.
water quality gets a boost from a big-time project made for the outdoors.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by All Seasons Garage Door, Border
Fish
View
Fighter
Lodge,
Products,
Ice Castle
Griffin
Fish
Coffee,
Houses, Car
L&M
Arms, Fleet Supply, and by Warner's Dog.
Duck hunters dream of a world that looks like this. A landscape where ducks fill the sky. But days like this don't happen simply by chance. The dream takes a reality of very hard work. Workers get cracking on Minnesota's Lightning Lake, a project funded by the conservation group Ducks Unlimited.
The mission of Ducks Unlimited is habitat conservation. Ducks Unlimited restores, manages, and protects wetlands and associated upland habitats for North America's waterfowl.
A good chunk of Midwestern ponds and potholes ended up drained, the result of man and development. DU hopes its Living Lakes initiative will restore and protect at least a few of those altered sloughs.
We can stay back and do nothing, or we can take degraded shallow lake and we can rejuvenate it. We can make it back to its original form.
Here in Minnesota, unfortunately, we've lost 90% of our prairie wetlands and 99% of our prairie uplands. So we're very much in a restoration mode. In this case, the landscape's completely drained, and Upper Lightning Lake is the last wetland on the land that couldn't be drained, but because of all the high water and invasive fish such as carp, it's become stagnant ecologically. So we are restoring the natural outlet to the lake. Next to having water in a wetland, the most important thing for a wetland is to go through a periodic dry cycle or a drought, and that's all part of what makes wetlands so productive. So by exposing mudflats and soil, seeds can germinate on the mudflats like this young cattail plant and grow, and when it's reflooded, then that's the wetland habitat that the ducks and other wetland birds need.
Over time, dry soil fills with water, and native plants flourish. the dream becomes reality. A healthy ecosystem returns.
You know, the end game is to create clean water is always the #1 goal. You have clean water, you get the habitat, you get the birds.
It's amazing to, you know, see a project from start to finish, and you go to a spot and there's just devoid of pretty much anything living, and once we come back and everything's just alive and there's birds and there's invertebrates and plants, and the transformation is amazing.
That's our primary focus, is filling the skies with ducks and other waterfowl today, tomorrow, and forever.
Up next, habitat won't last long without a bit of work.
Stand by. We're gonna have some fun today.
That means a match and dry spring tinder. Big fire made for the outdoors next.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Polaris Industries, North Dakota Tourism, Otter Tail County, Minnesota, and by Pearson's Salted Nut Roll.
Today's episode is dedicated to wild spaces that look just like this. But, you know, even once your native plants are back in, they need a little TLC, and that's where the boys from Bridger come in. Fire in the sky signals another night on the prairie.
Hope you're hungry.
Call camp home on the road for the boys from Bridger.
We're all having so much fun. You like steak and meat and potatoes?
The boys from Bridger fire out of Bozeman, Montana.
Would you rather always have to wear Ferrari glasses or knee-high tube socks?
Saturday, partly cloudy.
Turns out their nights spent around the fire look just like their days.
Stand by. We're gonna have some fun today. Big fires. Big fires.
There's going to be some slope and topography games that we're going to be playing here. Communications will be on TAC 1.
Okay, let's go ahead and start our test fire. The time is 9:59.
These conservationists put fire to prairies.
Fire stuff is it's a good time.
True untilled virgin prairie in the state of Minnesota constitute less than 1% of the total land mass. It's a threatened and endangered ecosystem, and we need to take care of that. We need to learn from it, restore it as best we can.
One reason Bridger's in business. These wildland firefighters spend their springs before the wildfire season starts, burning and restoring prairies.
I'm starting the initial black line. We want to get about 100 feet of black in. So when we start the fire coming this way, it's got nowhere to go.
This is great. Piece of cake so far.
The goal for this burn is to burn off 95% of the grasses.
Non-native brome grass. It's the green stuff right there.
Green grass, it'll smoke you out.
Introduced long ago from Asia and Europe, brome chokes out native prairie grasses. That's where fire plays a role.
The point is to reestablish native grasses and get the wildlife introduced back into the environment. I can't wait to come back like in a year later and see what this looks like then.
The fire removes old growth, opening space for new ground nesting cover for birds. Heat sparks natives to grow. That prairie grass also creates new food sources. And because the boys from Bridger turned fire into a science.
We look at every factor we can: wind, weather,
Fuel, moisture, humidity, all the things that affect how fire works.
It is a science. It's a dynamic environment to work in. Pretty much when you're out there and you're working, it's more of a very dynamic sort of interaction between you and everybody that you're working with.
We still got the old-fashioned firefight going of just stomping it out.
Once Bridger burns a perimeter, in this case 100 acres, crews light a backfire and flames run with the wind.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna tell you that it's not a rush. I mean, you get to see some pretty amazing fire behavior.
And just as quickly as it sparks, the fire extinguishes itself.
One of the things that we're looking for in these burns, so you'll take a look down here, we're looking for 100% fine fuel consumption.
Goal achieved.
It was a good day.
So the boys from Bridger break camp in search of another prairie.
It's a good life. We love what we do, that's for darn sure.
It's not only the thrill of being out there on the fire line, because we all love to do that, but biologically doing the right thing for the ground.